Hello, Erik Stams here at Drumtech. I'm here to talk to you about timekeeping today. Timekeeping is a drummer's primary function. In fact, indeed any musician's primary function. If you do not have a good sense of time, all other musical ideas crumble. So I think probably the first step for any musician is to get used to the space between the notes and the length of notes. In fact, this is something that I think eludes most drummers. To a drummer, there is no difference between a quarter note or a whole note or a 16th note. They all sound the same. What drummers don't seem to have is a sense of where the note ends. Like a trumpet player who sustains pitch has to cut off the end of the note. Drummers need to kind of learn to internalize that and hear the spaces between the notes. Very often, you'll hear many drummers talk about that. So what we need to do is kind of hear where a note ends and the length of the pitch, even though we're not playing it. A lot of times I think the key to that is understanding rhythmic subdivisions. And if you can subdivide in your head while you're playing, it helps a lot. It helps you can play less notes and hear the subdivisions in your head, and your time will be more even. And remember, as a drummer, and again, any musician, you need to kind of understand that the pulses should be like the ticking of a clock. So if you have a flow of pulses, each one should be equal. Now, obviously, we're human beings. A little bit of sway here and there is all right. But in general, modern music making is done in recording studios with click tracks and with sequencers. It's quite important. So let's have a quick talk about this. The best thing to do is to practice with a metronome, but also to kind of just come to grips with these subdivisions. The overwhelming majority of the notes that you're going to play as a drummer, or again, most musicians in general, will be a combination of quarter notes, eighth note triplets, and 16th notes. Obviously, there are other rhythmic subdivisions, but the majority of the things we're going to play are going to be based on that, right? So one of the first things to do is to kind of go through an exercise of switching through these subdivisions. So you start out by playing each subdivision on its own. So for instance, I'll do it without the click and then with the click. If we play quarter notes, right? In my head, I'm hearing I'm dividing it somehow so that I can actually make sense of the space between the notes. After a while, you don't have to count it anymore. It becomes second nature. So here we have it again. Right? Each time with my hi-hat, which is a useful thing to tap your foot. And if I switch, the pulse is still there, which is really important. Now, whatever rhythmic subdivisions we play, the pulse remains the same. That's really important. Now, this is quite basic stuff, but some people overlook this and they jump right into trying to play odd time signatures with paradiddle stickings. All of those ideas will crumble if the groundwork isn't there. Count as you play, really important. Right, we're hearing that constant pulse. Same thing applies to the triplets. Pulse remains, right? So. Between the pulses is a really useful thing. The fourth subdivision we're going to look at is 16th notes, right? What we're doing is dividing each pulse into 4 equal parts. So if we go through all of them, now those are the 4 major rhythmic subdivisions, the ones that we use most of the time. As an exercise, I'd recommend you practice each bar 4 times, and then practice each bar twice, and then eventually just play one after the other. You can also reverse the order. I'm going to step away from this and go turn on the click. Are we good so far?
Yep.
Is that long enough, or shall I add a bit more to that?
No, definitely not.
Definitely not.
No.
Hopefully I can hear it. 3 and 4 and... Now, this starts to get fairly simple and easy for you to play, and you feel confident in it to play it faster. But also, we can add more things to it, right? We can add quarter note triplets, and quintuplets, and septuplets, 30-second notes, sextuplets. So, just as an example, I'll go through all those subdivisions, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. I've left out the septuplets because they're not the most useful phrase in the world. Take your time, work through them slowly, and have some fun with it.